Let's talk to Benedict Spence, political commentator. Maybe he can make sense of it all. Benedict, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I mean, you've got a very bright light there. I mean, that's the sun coming through.
Yeah, that's this is me demonstrating the need for geoengineering projects. Otherwise, it will dazzle you.
There is a sense, is there not, that we're kind of being run by a bunch of complete and utter idiots who have no idea what they're doing. And with every single day that passes, I'm afraid it gets worse.
Yeah, it is laughable. I'm delighted to know that their ambitions are so high that they want to take a literal Simpsons episode storyline of blocking out the sun, and they think this is going to work really well.
Right.
Because it didn't go wrong in that one either.
I know. But Ed Miliband now literally is so increasingly insane that he sort of gave it all away yesterday. Let me just play you this interview. You may have seen it yesterday that he did with Sky News, which beggars belief, really. Have a look.
Another point for why this country has unbelievably high energy prices is that we tax our energy companies.
No, you're wrong. I'm really sorry, but you're wrong about that because the price is set internationally. I'm really sorry, but that's not correct.
OK, well, let's put commodities aside. If you increase taxes on supermarkets to 78%...
It depends whether it's...
If you increase taxes on supermarkets to 78%, what would happen to the price of food?
It depends.
What would happen to the price of food?
It depends whether it's a domestic market where the price is set domestically.
This is a globally unquestionable factor about economics. You're right that your point also applies. You can't flatly deny my point.
I am denying your point when it comes to the question of these internationally set prices. That's the point I'm making.
If you lowered the tax of 78% on energy companies to the regular...
On oil and gas companies, it wouldn't make a difference to the price. In fact...
Yes, it would.
I'm afraid it wouldn't because the point is that the price is set internationally.
But there are lots of things that factor into the price that we pay. The lots of supply chain costs you've mentioned yourself. This is a huge cost in the supply chain.
I mean, when Sky News starts to question climate change policy, you know you're in a bad place. What, of course, the interviewer should have said is that, well, if the international gas price and energy price is set internationally, why does it cost different amounts of money in different countries then, you complete plonker?
Exactly. That's the key. That's the key thing here. Why is it that our prices are so much higher than they are in other countries? If actually the interviewer, was completely wrong and didn't have a clue about how the pricing works, could he explain that slight quirk of how things actually tend to work? Why is it, strangely enough, that Norway doesn't pay very much for its electricity, or Qatar has it for very little money? Could it be because of it's more than just an international cartel says this is the price? Who knows? But no. Ed Miliband, former Labour leader, very close to becoming Prime Minister. Very, very big-brained individual. He knows more than us, don't you know?
I mean, unbelievable, isn't it? Of course, this whole business of the Energy Security Summit, which kind of came out of nowhere yesterday, organised by some bloke called Fatih, which was rather bizarre for me, who happens to be a Turkish economist. I'm sorry, but that's his name. And everybody kept thanking him all the time, which sounded even more weird, because they all kept saying, we're really, really grateful to see Fatih here. It just sounded like some kind of children's nursery rhyme. But Keir Starmer got up yesterday at this Energy Security Summit and rattled away a whole series of untruths about what we were doing. Check this out.
When it comes to energy, we are also paying the price for our overexposure over many years to the roller coaster of international fossil fuel markets, leaving the economy and therefore people's household budgets vulnerable to the whims of dictators like Putin, to price spikes and to volatility that is beyond our control.
Yeah, well, it's not beyond your control, though, to drill for the oil and gas which is underneath this country, or indeed in the sea around this country. It's also not beyond your control to mine for coal, which would actually help. And it's also unlikely that he was able to react to the fact that gas prices and oil prices right now are very, very low.
Yeah, I find all of this so very painful because, as you point out, we are not short of these things if we wanted. If we wanted to be completely energy self-sufficient when it came to fossil fuels, we could be. We are almost uniquely blessed in amongst European countries in that way. We have chosen not to. And I mean, when you look at actually a map of all of the North Sea oil and gas fields, for instance, which ones are being tapped, which ones aren't, and you see the sheer volume of the ones that are actually on Norway's side of the divide that are being tapped, and the number that are on ours and aren't, and you just think, well, it's no wonder that you can sit there with a straight face and go, oh, well, it's because we're relying on oil and gas. Well, yeah, you're relying on other people's oil and gas, not your own, because from some sense of do-goodery, you don't want to drill for your own oil and gas, but it doesn't mean you stop burning it at any different rate. We still need it.
Exactly right. And this would probably explain why the little piece in one of the papers today about an Ipsos survey has found that fewer people than ever approve of what the government is doing. The government's net approval rating is now -40, which is down from -32 last month. So, I mean, the fall from grace continues. You know, Rachel Reeves apparently is confident of a trade deal as she woos Trump over tariffs over in America. But back home, things are just not looking very good, are they?
They're not. And I mean, it's very easy for us to sort of sit here and say they don't know what they're doing. And we did it with the Conservatives as well. But we have to sort of believe the evidence that's in front of our own faces. You know, genuinely, I cannot remember a series of politicians coming in and proving themselves to be so inept in such a short period of time. At least the Conservatives gave us the veneer of competence for about 18 months. But we're not even at the year mark yet with these people.
No, I know. And what I always used to say about the Tories was that, particularly towards the end with Rishi Sunak, they didn't really do very much damage because they didn't really do very much. Whereas this lot keep doing things that make everything worse. You know, with every step that they take forward, you know, they fall further down the sort of the black hole, if you like. I mean, the amount of borrowing now is colossal. And even if you believe, which nobody does, including the OBR, that there was a 22 billion black hole that they inherited, they've more than doubled it.
Yeah, and it's all of this is driven by ideology, and I think this is the thing, when you have incompetence as you had with the Conservatives, but it's not really driven very much by ideology, it's practicality. You get, as you sort of described, a situation where everybody's sort of running around trying not to touch anything because you think, well, that's deeply impractical. But when you're driven by the idea that there is a utopian ideal that we can achieve if only we just do this stuff a little bit firmer and a little bit faster than our predecessors did, well, then you're not going to have any sort of regard for warnings or anything like that, and that's the situation that that we find ourselves in. You know, possibly the worst of both worlds. As you say, at the very least with Rishi Sunak, there was an attempt to sort of stabilise things, whereas Rachel Reeves with a 22 billion pound black hole, almost as if she just went, "There's a 22 billion pound black hole that I've manifested in my mind, and now I have to make it reality."
Yes, and there's one other story that I haven't mentioned yet on the show, but it's on page 5 of the Daily Telegraph today. A left-wing demonstrator, as if you didn't know that there was two-tier justice in this country, a left-wing demonstrator who assaulted a man at a protest after the Southport killings has walked free. Despite the fact that she actually took a phone from somebody and smashed it onto the ground. They're calling it a rally. I'm going to call it a riot. She accused a man of being a racist. She was found guilty of assault and criminal damage, but she only received a suspended sentence. Why? Because she's a socialist.
Yeah. It's this is something that everybody already knows, actually, about the approach to, if you like, the danger of public disorder in this country, that if you're a certain kind of individual, you'll get a little slap on the wrist because at some point, in some way, the system believes that your cause is actually righteous. And if you're just an ordinary member of the public who's quite upset about the way that things are going, well, you're a potential fascist marching down the Mall. So, you know, you have to be dealt with very seriously. Right. People are becoming very fed up with this. We're a very tolerant, very patient country, but that is slowly being eroded away. And I mean, it's only going to keep on getting worse if you have the situation where, I don't think people have a problem with rioters, for instance, going to prison. But when there's one set of violent people who are not sent to prison because of predetermined characteristics, well, I think that takes the biscuit.
Well, I think we're going to see more of it this weekend, aren't we? Because the Trans Rights Brigade are going to be out in force again. They promised us last weekend that they would have bigger demonstrations, more far-reaching across the country this weekend against the Supreme Court's ruling that, you know, trans women are not women, basically. But they were holding up banners far in excess of what I would call normality and reasonableness, you know, calling for J.K. Rowling to be burned at the stake, calling for her to be killed, calling for TERFs to be hanged, you know, calling for people who were against trans rights to have their eyes gouged out with a sword. I mean, you know, and yet, you know, Lucy Connolly languishes in prison for a ridiculous long time. She's already been there like nearly 9 months, and she's going to spend another 2 years there. Nobody's been arrested yet. The police are still looking for them.
Honestly, I mean, nothing says I'm a woman, does it, more than behaving in such a ladylike fashion as to threaten the worst kind of violence to those who disagree with you. I mean, you know, that's absolutely feminine behavior.
Yeah.
But again, as you say, it's such a small minority of people who are actually trans in this country. When you dig down into the figures, it's in the couple of thousands at best, if we're being honest. And the fact that this is sort of tolerated, almost as if they were women, and you know that there's again sort of protected weaker sex sort of thing. And you look at them and you think, come on, this is just the worst kind of behavior. It's intimidatory, it's violent, it's vile, if nothing else. And again, why on earth do we pander to a campaign group that demands to be able to behave like that in women's spaces?
I know, it's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? And they hate women so much, they want to be them. And you kind of go, something quite illogical about that argument. Benedict, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend. Benedict Spence, political commentator there.